This is Show versus Business, where pop culture meets pop money with your host, the real Theo Harvey and Mr. Benja. So, Mr. Benja, what's been going on?
What's been going on, man? Hey, man, I missed you last week. I'm sorry, but we're back. You're back. It was a filler episode for those who saw. And what do we do in filler episodes? I have to brave the waters alone, and you've had to do it before, but we're better as a team. So we're back at it. And this week, let's see what we got going on. We got a TikTok ban that's happening. So that's just been going down. We've been talking about that. The House doesn't like it, the Senate doesn't like it. So now we're trying to get rid of TikTok. And banning stuff. Some interesting things, people, how they're dealing with it, how they're affected by it. Some interesting points we want to get into. And of course, we're going to talk about your boy. What's his name? I forgot his name. Mr. Come Here guy. I forgot his name. Terrible. See how I'm not even in this world like that. If you hold on, we'll tell you his name later on because it's coming. Also, Don Lemon, his show on X got canceled. X going to give it to Don. More shenanigans, right? We're going to talk a little bit about the Oscars. I don't know if anybody cares, movies and theaters. And everybody's out here copying everybody else. What's the future going to be? I don't know. AI is copying. People are loving it. Some people are hating it. Crazy world out there. Some fun topics. But how does that sound to you, Theo?
Mr. Benja sounds awesome, awesome, awesome. Yeah, last week I was out, and you may hear in my voice a little bit, maybe a little raspy of all the fun time shenanigans I got into. We did a spring break trip with the family to DC, the nation's capital. And Mr. Benja, have you been to DC before?
I stayed up there for a summer.
There you
Yeah.
go. There you go. So you've done all the monuments, done the Capitol, seen the sights, which is I think everybody has to do it at least once. I've done it multiple times, but this is the first time some of my family members, and including parents and older relatives in their
Oh
70s
wow. Okay.
who've never been to DC to see certain things. And
So
so I
so
thought
this
it
was
was
this was just a family trip. You guys got together and said, "Hey, we're gonna go." That's cool, man. I haven't done one of those in a while.
yeah, yeah, it was like one of those things. My brother lives in Texas, and we decided he said him coming down for Christmas. Let's do a spring break trip together, and DC is what we decided on. It's a big group. It's about 23 of us when you include all the babies and the older adults, and so
That's
four
cool.
siblings with each one has at least two kids, and nieces and nephews and cousins. So it's a big group. So I'll share with that on the Instagrams and all that shortly. But yeah, man, Mr. Benja, I learned a lot. It's just the National African American Museum. I talked about my experience there maybe a couple of months back, or maybe last year. I talked about it and just how impactful that was, but also seeing that information displayed on my parents' eyes, seeing their stories and communicate with them about that. That was super exciting for me just to get them to think about the past and what they went through. And because they lived the civil rights movement,
Hmm.
obviously. And so it was one of those things that was just very fun, Mr. Benja. So highly recommend that everyone does that. We even actually showed up on the hill, the Capitol Hill. We got a tour of the Capitol, and we did talk to our tour guide who happened to be an intern and told us all about the great things that were happening that week when TikTok was banned. So I'll talk more about that later when we discuss the banning of TikTok. But yeah, overall, it was just a great week, man. Just spending time with family and friends as well. So shout out to Dr. Jackson if you listen to this right now. But yeah, man, it was good, man. What about you?
Nice. That's very cool, man. Very cool. I started. So I want to let you know I'm not on drugs at the moment.
No story starts well when you say, "I'm not on drug first." When I'm not on drugs. That just bodes not well for what you're about to say next, but go ahead.
No, it was so there's this old I forgot who said it, but they were, like, talking about art and everything. They're like, "There are some things that you experience, and as an artist, you go through and you keep trying to recreate that experience somehow, like, you try to capture it." Whether it's first kiss, skydiving, traveling to Washington, DC, you get these experiences and then you try to channel them through your music, your art, your photography, whatever. The thing is, same thing goes for drugs. It's like you start feeling things that you normally would have held yourself back from feeling or you couldn't access, right? And it's funny, I had this feeling and it was somebody was annoying me. I was getting bothered. And then it's for whatever reason, I never walk around without my flip-flops on. But I got real California for a second, and I just walked out the house with no shoes on and took a walk barefoot. I'm not caring if I step in glass and everything. This is very California, not black people kind of thing, but I decided to do it anyway. So I'm like walking through the grass and everything. And the last time I did this, I was like, when was the last time I did this? Oh, I got stoned once with some friends introduced me to weed and everything. And I was like, okay, that's the last time this happened. And I realized I could tap back into that feeling. Now you give me a funny look. This is going somewhere though.
Okay. Okay.
So I tapped back into that feeling and I'm like, you know what? If I really think about it, meditate and work at it, I can just get back into that calm mode. Cause this was when I was in the video game industry and I was getting
Mhm.
like hella stressed out. So I get
Mm.
stressed out about something. Some people say, hey man, we got some of this plant over here. This plant, you can come check it out. I'm like, all right, I'll try out the plant. And I tapped back into that feeling and was like, you know what? I'm not that worried about that. I'm good. So I was basically getting in the mindset of just recreating that feeling that I wanted, which was not being bothered.
Mm.
And I started looking into it, man, and just being able to not use a substance to get where you want to be without that substance, I started to look at that in terms of caffeine, sugar, all these feelings. You can get to a point of generating the feelings yourself without actually doing the thing.
Mm.
So I haven't said anything about this, but for like the past, I started in March or maybe a little in February. I started really trying to think about this and I'm working through some stuff, man. And it's helping my workflow and my business activities to no end. Cause
Okay. Oh, I love it, man. What you've untapped something, a feeling, that feeling you get that you need to be on substances that you're tapping into that feeling and trying to recreate that and getting that to higher levels so you don't need the thing at all because you're experiencing that without it.
yeah. And the weed thing, that was an extreme thing because it was like getting hard for me to work. And I was like, all right, I need the weed, I need the whatever it was. And yeah, I was trying to get through some work and I couldn't push through it. I'm like, why can't I push through it? Do I really need this big thing of Mountain Dew? Because I get like a liter bottle of Mountain Dew and a bag of cookies and just start coding until 4 in the morning. I was ready. I was like, I'm growing up, Theo. That's what I'm saying. I've made it this far. It's amazing.
No, man, I agree, man. There's some of the things I try to fast at the beginning of the year. Alcohol, I think I talk about this. And one of the things I fly a lot, and sometimes it's always good to have a little nip of something while you're flying to ease the
Yeah, yeah,
nerves a little bit with some of the turbulence up there. But since I wasn't, I am drinking now because we had the big family trip. But I'm gonna try to maintain that, and maybe I'll just do it for like events. But I try to stay away from drinking, obviously on planes. And to your point, you just do some breathing exercises and you get the same calming feeling that I would have gotten from alcohol. So I definitely know what you're talking about there, and I'm trying to do more of that because you're right. I don't want to have to say that I need this.
yeah,
It's almost like a crutch. Ooh, let me get this, and that's something I never want to go down the path of
right.
when you think about it. So yeah, man, I think those are some of the things that I'm super excited about what you're doing there, man, and totally hyped that you tapped into
Yeah,
that superpower.
yeah. I'm telling you, it's great for me, man. And there are 3 things I got from this. We can clip this. Mr. Benja's 3 awesome things about getting away from reliance on substances. I'll just put it that way. No, first of all, you gotta getting away from a habit so you're not habituated to do something and you can control when it happens or when it doesn't. Second, it's not something you need. Like, you can do it, you can go through the process without the thing. Habit or not, it's if I'm gonna go do this, I have to do this. It's not necessarily. You can do it without it. You can go to speak on stage without whatever. You can study through the night without whatever substance. And then the third thing is just only doing it when you're in the right mindset. If I ever got in a bad mindset and started on something, that might tail spin me down somewhere. If I'm in a good mood, hey, you know what? I'll have a drink. And then I do it in a good way. Not, oh man, I'm tired. I should have a drink to get in a good state. No, I
Mhm.
get in a good state and I'm like, man, I'm in a good state. Let me get a little sip of something.
Yeah,
So
yeah. And that's a challenge, man. You have to be cognizant of your moods and what your yearnings are. And sometimes we just don't slow down enough to understand that. And so I commend you to deeper dive that and realize where you're at. The things that I'm the same way. I'm like, why am I? Oh, it's been a long week. I think I need a drink. I'm like, wait a minute, do I need a drink or do I want a drink? And then I slow that down. And usually the feeling passes. But sometimes just you just have to name it and then it goes away, that feeling. That's what I
Mhm.
found sometimes. But yeah, man, kudos to you, Mr. Benja. I love it, man. This is new levels.
It's I'm telling you, it's part of this 80-20 thing that we've been on. I'm like, "What's holding me back from that 20%?" And then I look into the 80% and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, there's all that stuff." So that's what this actually comes from.
I love it. I love it. A couple other things I'm trying to take to another level, Mr. Benja, since we're talking about new levels. Marketing, Mr. Benja. I've
Oh, yeah.
been deep diving on Facebook ads and funnels and
Yeah, we
stuff.
we talked about the ads last time. Okay, what there's
Yeah.
more.
So even though I was on a break, I was still fiddling with some stuff and playing around with some stuff. And this is new levels to this, right? It's the balancing act between these new tools that maybe Frank Kern, hey, you could try this, or these other internet gurus are trying to say this works for us and then applying it to your market. But I think that's one aspect of it, right? The technical aspect of it. The
Yeah,
other aspect is okay, what's the messaging? Is the messaging resonating with my group?
yeah,
And there's some key things I'm learning around some gates that you can look at, like some target numbers that you're trying to achieve to determine if your opt-in page is around 20, 30%, that means your audience is resonating with your messaging, right? If it's not, you got to keep tweaking it. And I went back to what Alex Hormozi said back when he was really in the weeds with talking about ads and all that. He talked about how they used to do once a week, they would just change the headlines and in the first image of all their ads when he ran a gym launch. And
yeah,
that one little thing every week, iterating off of that every week, got him better and better at creating content that converted on Facebook. So it's one of those things I'm learning more of and trying to figure out ways to communicate with my audience. And yeah, super pumped about it, trying all the little tweaks and stuff. But then you get down the weeds and you're like, oh man, I can try this. Let me try that. Let me put what's it called? Videolytics. So you can see how long people watch your VSL. And then you can try this. And you just wait a
yeah,
minute.
yeah,
Let me go back to basics. Let's just see if people just click on some basic stuff first.
yeah.
But yeah, so anyway, super excited. And I'm trying to promote a book. And so I'm trying to figure out new ways of doing that. So you
Like
may see things around me.
like I see a book in the background. What is this? All laid up in a
Since you asked, Mr. Benja.
you got it in one of those frame holders. That's great.
Yeah, yeah. I launched a pocket guide to practice value creations, kind of a mini book, about 60, 70 pages for doctors and medical practices who are looking to help grow revenue in their practices. And so one of the things I'm trying to figure out is how do you get the message out without just beating people over the head with it.
Yeah,
And so when I'm doing my video content now, just having that in the background, communicating about it, I have it as a link and now as part of my video content that I send out. You'd be surprised, man. People click on it and they look at it. If it's for them, they could check it out. And even if it's not, retargeting, baby, I'll
yeah,
catch them later. So anyway, it's an interesting time for me on marketing, just really deep diving on that. And whether for my business or when I decide to step away from this side of the business, I'm sure I'm going to create something else. These skills, they never go away. And so like we talked about this, right? You have the mindset, the
mhm,
bigger vision, the skill set, which I'm learning, just basic tools of marketing. And the tool set, that's always evolving and changing. But that's a base level. As long as you understand the first two, the tool set, you can evolve. And so that's where I'm evolving now, my mindset and my skill set when it comes to
yeah.
marketing. So just super excited about that. Yeah.
Did we talk about this?
What's that?
A physical book as part of the marketing vibe.
No, this is new. I threw it together pretty quickly.
Dog.
So,
Yeah.
'cause I know you had one and you have talked about it, and I was like, "You know what? Can I get a book done in a month?"
Mhm.
Now, and AI helped with some of that and brainstorming and putting together, but there's some tools you can use, and shout out to folks who are interested. I can definitely help them with that. But yeah, I think the hardest part of a book is just getting it started, right? All the things you have to do to get it done.
Yeah,
But now that I had that base level done of how to get an audiobook, a regular book out, and all that stuff, now I feel like, okay, the next book is gonna be even better because now
yeah,
the what to do is done off my plate. It's just now making the content so phenomenal that
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. So anyway, so yeah, me, I think just having that physical thing is just it's something substantial enough
Mhm.
where people feel like, okay, this guy is legit and he's trying to do something. So it's a start.
If yes, you are on my page right now, or I'm on your page because you got your book out first. But yes, I'm so on this right now. What I was doing, I was had an ebook and I was like, you know what? Let me reformat this to just be paper first. Because I was doing it as an ebook to be more magazine-like, and I was gonna print it up all nice and stuff, but I was you know what? As I scaled back and started figuring out what I was talking about, and Dan Sullivan's big on this too, I told you I'm still on his
Oh yeah,
kick.
every quarter. Yeah, every quarter, new book.
Yeah. Okay, that's where we mentioned it. I knew we said something, but I wasn't sure what it was.
Yeah,
I
he
see.
does the mini book guides. That's I the thing is you want to have something. There you go. Yep, 90-minute book. There it is. You just want something physical. We live in a virtual world and a lot of jokers out there just selling stuff. Something about having a book out there. People are like, oh, you're legit. This guy knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
And that you just want just that little edge. And then that just, differentiates you that much more from your competition. But yeah, you put that bug in my ear. I actually spent a lot way more money to get this team to help me to write a book. It was too long of a process for me. And so I just set up all that. And so I just went this other process. And so now that I understand this, yeah, man, I think every entrepreneur needs to have a book and just have it out there so that you can leverage that as an entryway point into all the other things that you can offer.
You just hyped me the hell up. I'm I don't even wanna talk about it. I don't even wanna talk about it anymore. I just
I love
alright.
it. I love it.
You,
I love it.
but I know you like to I know you weren't doing all, marketing stuff where you're going. Did you watch anything? We're gonna talk about the Oscars later, but I don't know, anything that you've been looking at?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm dispatches from the watch, what I check out every now and then. Shogun, have you heard about that new uh FX Hulu series?
I'm getting a ton of ads for that on the iHeartRadio podcast streams, but no, I
Good
haven't.
stuff, man. Yeah,
Yeah?
good stuff. It was a mini series back in the 70s. It was based on a book. An Englishman discovers Japan and finds a huge fuel-based system that's very more advanced than he can ever imagine. And so this is now taking it from the Japanese point of view, right? So it's a lot of subtitles because they all speak Japanese. And so of course, the Englishmen, they have a translator and they speak a lot of English, but it's like very dual lingual type of show, but
Okay.
very fascinated that they put this on a lot of shows. But this is the Game of Thrones, the new version of Game of Thrones, right? Where you have complex characters, motivations,
Yeah.
storylines. So yeah, I'm digging it, man. It's very insightful. So that's one thing, TV I recommend. And then movie, I recommend American Fiction. Have you heard about that movie?
No.
Yeah, so this is the guy who wrote Watchmen. He was one of the writers for Watchmen. He won an Emmy for his role, the latest Watchmen on HBO Max. And his name is Cord Jefferson. And he wrote and directed this movie about a writer who's very educated, just a regular kind of writer who happens to be black and he can't get his book sold because people say he's not black enough. He's not writing that ghetto fiction. We used from the ghetto. I hate my dad, that kind of stuff, those
Right,
ghetto
right.
fiction novels. So, and when he needed money at this most inopportune time, he decides to write one and becomes a bestseller. And so now it's a comedy of errors where he's portraying someone who's not like a gangster rapper slash convict,
Yeah.
which he's not. He's
That's not
educated,
bad, not bad.
yeah, so it's very interesting, American fiction, and I like it because it's a mirror to how white folks perceive black folks, right? And through one lens, even though we are human beings, we could contain multitudes. And so
Yeah.
I think that's what this movie is about. So as a matter of fact, we'll talk about it later, but Cord Jefferson won Oscars and he just won an Oscar for best adapted screenplay. Kudos to him. So yeah, man, so those are two things I recommend. Shogun and you go watch a movie, go watch American Fiction.
Alright. It's very good. I'm gonna check that out. I took a little note down. Watch that. I'm also watching, Game of Thrones again, but I'm watching it through the eyes of reactors. So the people who do the reaction shows, dude, I figured out this fascination. I realized I used to do this back when I was making video games. I'd
Mhm.
watch people play the games, and I'd be fascinated, like, trying to get my head inside their head. Holy crap, he went left. Why would he go left? Huh, interesting. Are there trees over there that make it seem like something's over there? Why did he go left? So watching people react in different ways and analyze the show in a completely different way is just fascinating to me. Like they're when people are actively talking, like, "Oh, I noticed this. I'm seeing this. Wait, does this mean this?" And it's a completely different thought process than mine or any of ours because it's somebody else. So it's just gotten to be fascinating. Like, they're talking about Jon Snow and Robb Stark and all these characters. And the lady who's doing one of these reactions, she's really big on fashion and costuming.
Mhm.
So she's pointing out hints in the show that they dropped because of the fashioning and the costuming.
Mm.
There's a scene and they didn't she's like, "Hey, he didn't clean the blood off his cloak. He's still wearing the same cloak and it's got all the blood on it." And I'm just thinking in my head, "Oh, it had blood on it from the last scene." No, they usually have them cleaned up or something and you assume that they cleaned them off in the river or whatever, but his is still bloody. And I'm like, "Wait a minute." And she starts speculating as to what that could mean. And she was on point. So I was like, "What?" Just it's just wild. That's all.
I love it, I love it. So, are you getting excited for Hot D
Hot D. When's that coming out?
in June, baby? Yeah,
Oh,
it's
okay.
coming. Yeah, we only got less than a month and a half away. So,
I might have to get back on it, man, because that's one of those shows where you watch it with other people at the same time, and it's a new little level of electricity.
yeah, okay. If we're gonna watch it, man, we'll do a little recap, maybe weekly or something. Yeah, we'll
Uh-oh.
get back into the hot decapping.
Did I just oh god. Did I just commit? We committed. I committed. That's good. We'll commit.
Hot decapping. I love it. Oh man. Yeah,
Alright.
okay, good stuff, man. We'll talk more.
Well, since you mentioned Alex Hormozi, I wanted to jump on this really quick. So, I sent you this link. I don't know if you checked it out, but there's this guy who Justin Evergreen, I don't know who he is. I'm sure he's a fine guy. May not be, maybe, I don't know. But anyway, he got me with this post that says Alex Hormozi puts out 733 reels per year, but only 10 have gotten over 2 million views. And it's just stark black text on a white background. I'm like, hmm, interesting. I'll click the next slide to see what that is. And then he starts going in. I wanted to know what these 10 reels have in common and da, da, da. They all random. He just starts talking about how he collected and analyzed and used AI. And I'm listening to this and I'm like, yo, dude is making basically the course methodology by taking AI and running it over someone's content, breaking it down, creating a formula, a process, a course. And you too can do just like him. How do I know? Because I ran all his data through AI and this is what I found. And I was like,
Hmm.
oh, interesting. And it's just got me in this whole mind of everybody copying everybody. I just thought that was very interesting that somebody would do that. Makes sense, but I don't know. What'd you think of that?
Interesting. Number one, yeah, I think I saw this before, but now that you put in my eyesight, but look, I think he did it back in December. I don't think this is a recent post, but
No,
still.
it showed up as it showed up as an ad.
Okay. Interesting. And I think Dan Henry is talking about that too. I think I told you I'm listening on his Get Clients course, university course.
Mhm,
And these marketers are trying to get faster and faster with testing things out, messaging. And so instead of making these big video funnels and all this stuff, remember I was telling you there's that aspect between the tools, getting it done, and then actual, are you really resonating with your audience? I think a lot of gurus are realizing the BS of the tools and stuff. Let's just
mhm.
dumb that down. We'll talk about it and we'll sell it to you is not the most important thing. Most important thing is you're gonna resonate with your audience. So the simpler and faster you can do that. So Dan Henry, for instance, instead of doing a big long video again for some new product he was selling, he just did a video, just a regular old sales letter, right? A written form. Hey, are you a marketer? Well, have you experienced this? Those old school sales letters used to get in the mail,
Yeah,
right? Or you read in the
yeah,
magazine. He went old school on Jokers, and he said it was better converting than some of his videos. And Justin sounded like he's doing something similar. Well, two things. Number one,
yeah,
he's selling you the implementation, right? I created this system and you can buy it or try it out. But he's making it simple to get the messaging out. It's just text on white and that's it. You don't need any image, you don't need anything. And to me, I was like, it's almost like you're zagging when everyone zigs. And so you
yeah.
can stand out a little bit. But yeah, to your point, I love it. I might try it myself, Mr. Benja. Why not?
You know what Frank Kern was doing for a while? He had the iPhone text app with just
Okay.
like some text put in there. So it's like he typed it and then posted it, and you can see like the little Verizon battery level and all that, and
Yeah.
then his text. So you're just like, hey, why is this? Oh, interesting. Okay. It's just a simple, super simple. I love it. Just
I didn't think we talked about this marketing, ADA, attention, interest, desire, action. You gotta get their attention first, and sometimes the best way to get their attention is doing something that's outside the norm, right? It interrupts that pattern,
yeah.
and if you're showing people you're right, man, I might just do some gritty videos, raw
Out
videos, just my face.
outside
Ah,
outside
this
the
is
norm, yet incredibly what's the word? Incredibly native, incredibly normal, regular. That's what his was. Of course, outside the norm, but what's outside the norm is weird and stupid, and what's outside the norm and still relatable.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
And we talked about this with Heinz and his YouTube content, right? Being a little bit more calm and chill versus
Yeah, yeah.
the content we see from Mr. Beast, explosions in a big boat. And I'm on the island by myself. Why? What are you gonna do next? So yeah, Heinz is just like, hey everybody, let's have a cup of coffee and think. I love it.
Exactly. Howlett. There we go. I couldn't remember his name. Howlett. What was his name? James Howlett? No. Forgot his first name. I'm getting there. But that guy, he's been doing the TikTok and Instagram reels. I don't know how all these influencers are gonna think about this, but the TikTok ban is coming. And with all this talk about marketing and everything, it's worth mentioning the TikTok ban. Theo, you got some data on that, right? How's this going down?
It's going down in the DM. Yeah, how is it going down? The house of you don't know. A lot of folks may not know this, but we have to we have a government, and I'm just a bill, and you have to go through both houses. The House, which is made of all the representatives, which is people that represent certain districts in the states, and then you have the Senate, which is only two senators per each state. In the
Did did
House, they
did you
found
learn that? Did you learn that back in Washington D.C. on your trip?
I did. I had to remember all that, right? And they brought it back to my memory. You know, oh yeah, that's how you gotta go through appropriations bills. No, but I knew a little bit
Yeah,
about
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I was heavily
I'm messing
into
with you.
some politics stuff for a second. But anyway, I digress. Yeah, so the House went through their committees and they voted up into the House. And this is interesting because this is like a bipartisan bill. This is one of the few things that both Republicans and Democrats agree on, which is super. It could probably get done because, as we all know, politics is not agreeable anymore. And so this is very interesting time right now. So anyway, they got through the committee process and it got voted on the House floor with all what 200 or so representatives, and it passed. So now it still has to go to the Senate. If it passes the Senate vote, then when it gets to the Senate, it goes the whole process again. Has to go to committees, then finally get up into the Senate floor. And if it passes, then the House looks at it one more time to make sure there's no changes or anything like that. And then finally it goes up into the president to sign. So has a very real chance of passing. And it's very interesting. Unlike 2020 when Trump was talking about let's ban TikTok and all that, it's a lot quieter this time, Mr. Benja. And I think it's because the data is starting to show that these tools, maybe TikTok and Facebook, are not healthy for the younger generation. And they're thinking at ways to curtailing some of the influence that
Yeah,
these social media apps have on our young folks, especially one that's owned by the Chinese government, which is
yeah.
ByteDance, which is a subsidiary. It's its own company, but we all know Chinese Communist Party is a part of that.
Yeah, we've seen Chinese companies or even Chinese affiliated companies that were subsidized or pushed forward with Chinese money, Chinese governmental backing, have been co-opted, and we've seen this problem. I think Jack Ma was talking about something going on with Alibaba, and suddenly the Chinese government stepped in and was like, "We're doing this," and
He
Jack Ma was like,
disappeared.
"We're doing this," and yeah, exactly, and he ended up not being in the public anymore. We don't know what that means, but we know what that
Yes.
means.
Yeah.
So yeah, the CEO even came out and he's very disappointed. He keeps saying, "Hey, I'm Singaporean. I'm not Chinese. This doesn't affect us." It's like, guy, we know how these strings are being pulled, man. Don't try to goose us.
Yeah, so it's interesting too because TikTok, they're trying to help sway. Obviously, lobbyists is a big part of the government process, and they're trying to persuade the lawmakers to not ban TikTok. And one of the things that TikTok did, which was scary too, they knew everyone's zip code who was on TikTok, right? So if you're in TikTok, they can understand where your zip code you live in. And that's important because they can tell who your congressperson was. So what they did
Mm,
was they created a marketing campaign that popped up while you were watching TikTok that said, "Hey, did you know TikTok may be banned? If you don't like that, here's your congressperson and here's their number. Click here to call and complain about that." And
yeah.
people complained. So when I went on my Capitol tour last week, the interns there, they represented Texas. My brother got us a tour from his congressman. Our congressman here in Florida, he came through, but we weren't going to go to the Friday one. So neither we wanted to go a little earlier in the week. But anyway, so the interns there were from Texas, and they were saying they were bombarded last week with 16-year-olds, 12-year-olds calling saying, "Don't ban TikTok." And so
Yeah.
that's scary in a sense because they were trying to do something which is normal, juice the process and help their case. But I think they make their case way worse when they showed how influential TikTok can be in trying to sway our elections.
Mm.
So that's when everybody, oh, y'all shouldn't have done that. You over
It
you're a
was
habitual line stepper. You overstepped your line.
Yeah,
So,
it's funny. Some people are saying they're doing there's a lot of people defending it without, I think, understanding what some of these companies can do, will do, and even if you don't know that they're doing it, are doing. So we talked about this last year, I believe, in a bit of depth about the TikTok ban when it first started talking about it. But yeah, it's you don't need if you have the zip code, that's one thing, but you don't need like all this personal data like spelled out to find out about you, to get all the data and information they need from you for whatever nefarious purposes. And it can go into very scary places, especially when you couple that with apps sharing information. So let's say you have CapCut on your phone. And so if you're using CapCut, that's the video editing software, and you're using TikTok, both of these apps can share data or basically like figure out ways to, oh, if somebody uploaded it to the server, they uploaded with the same email address or whatever, we'll just go get that data. And now instead of somebody who has one bit of data, they've got two bits of data, three bits of data. Let's say you installed the entire ByteDance suite of 4 or 5 apps or whatever. It starts to get really weird. And next thing you show up on the dark web. I don't know. I don't know.
yeah, it's very intrusive. And we talked about the Chinese government and their willingness to get a lot of hackers to get information. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's definitely something that I think we're gonna see more of. One thing from a business standpoint, I always look at this. How many hours are spent on TikTok, Mr. Benja? So when you look at the numbers, they said in 2020, the average global average was 13 hours and 18 minutes per month. By 2022, this figure had increased by 76%, reaching 23 hours and 30 minutes. So the average person across the world spends 3% of their month on TikTok or 5% of their total waking hours on TikTok. And so that's a lot of time. And so if TikTok is banned in some aspect or in certain countries, where's all that viewing has to go somewhere. And the rumor is obviously you're gonna have probably YouTube views go up,
Yeah.
Instagram views go up, and then maybe movies and TVs shows. So it's interesting to see what's going to happen if TikTok does get banned. So my prediction is I think they may limit the use for folks younger than a certain age because I agree younger kids do not need these to have a 12-year-old, 8-year-old, and some of their friends are on TikTok, and it's just no, that's just not good. And so I think they don't need that. And then number two, so I think there will be a limit on who can access it. Also, so I don't think it'll be a total ban. And then also, I think they're gonna find a way to divest ByteDance from TikTok in some
Yeah.
way here in the US at least.
Yeah. What's dangerous too is the link in bio. It's like people will play by the TikTok rules or the Instagram rules, even if you want to go there, but whatever rules of the platform. And then it's you click the link in bio and you realize they're just doing TikTok to pull you into whatever they're doing, which was why a lot of people didn't know that the Pinky doll, you remember the ice cream
Mhm.
so good. Pe
How can I forget Mr. Benja? That's in
I
my
know, right?
nightmares. It's in my nightmares.
Yeah, like, people just thought she was some cute somebody, but then she's removed it now, but then you go to her link in bio, next thing it's ass and titty, and you're like, "Oh my god, what is this?" And her
Yeah.
OnlyFans and her uncensored stuff was right there on Front Street, and it was just like, "Wait, what?" And yeah, I've gone down some weird link in bio rabbit holes, and it's okay.
We talked about marketing. One of the key things you look for if your ad is working well is outbound CTR, click through rate. And so
Yep.
you want to make sure that that ad, and you want to average 1%, even higher if you can, so that every 100 people, one person's clicking your link in bio, clicking on your ad to learn more, and now you got them. I got you now. You're in my ecosystem. You're outside of Facebook and TikTok. So yes, that's one of the key metrics. So FYI, guys, hint, that's one of the key metrics that all marketers are looking for, that their content, whether organic or ads, they're trying to get you out the platform and get in your ecosystem. So watch it.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, that's it's so weird, and you hit me with this number here, like, the global averages is around 5% of total waking hours. You gotta think, with social media, there are a lot of people who really don't engage like that. So, I wonder what percentage, just like it's negligible and doesn't matter, but the numbers are actually getting skewed down because there are so many of these people who just jump on, like, once in a weekend or whatever. Like, I've tamed my Instagram usage so I can get this.
Yeah.
It's now that I'm a lot more intentional with it, I can just get on, do what I gotta do, and get off. But I'm the kind of person now who's pushing that number down. So there are people, I'm wondering how many of their waking hours start pushing up into 10%, 20%. You know, what if it was like 30 to 50% of your waking hours? Think about it. It's very possible. Knowing how people used to play video games and watch TV, you have something in your pocket now. Just, oh my God.
And to be honest with you, Mr. Benja, another thing I was thinking about, you can have the link in bio that gets people in your ecosystem.
Yeah.
You can just have branded content. That's what Frank Kern talks about.
Hmm.
Just have a simple thing to go to. And you don't even talk about it. Maybe you just have it in the background, right? Or you just say the same words over and over again. And they see your content so much that they just go to it on their own. They just look it up on their own. And so you can also brainwash people with just the words you say over and over again. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, it's if you and like you said, if you got 30% of a person's waking hours of just content they're feeding, especially if you go viral on TikTok, man, yeah, man, you're right, man. I'm seeing interesting things happening, man. You'll see 2 videos, and what's this? And he's, oh, that's the OnlyFans page potentially, or maybe there's some other stuff people are promoting betting sites, but you're like, oh, but I thought they
Yeah.
were talking about just sports. No, it's a betting, trying to get you
Well,
into the betting ecosystem.
yeah, that's how Andrew Tate became famous. Like, he was the first famous without really being out there. He was the first person to really, on a huge scale, like, I know a lot of marketers did within the marketing circles, but just on a huge generic person scale, what he had was this affiliate program. Was like, hey, you get somebody in my course and they use your link, I'll give you, it was like 30 to 50%. And it ranged at from time to time. But he was like giving out big chunks. He's, hey, listen, you get people on, this is how much money you'll get. And a lot of people got money doing that. And the way he talked it up was like, hey, you can't be obvious with it. You got to do this. You got to, and people followed along. And next thing, at one point, he becomes the most Googled person on the on the earth, which
Interesting.
is
Yeah.
weird and bizarre. But
And it's funny, yeah, I'm seeing that too in some of these courses I'm listening. They're talking about using promotions and giveaways to grow your audience. So
mhm,
branded content, giveaways, promotions, affiliates, all that is just about expanding your influence. And you know what? And so the granddaddy of them all, the Alex Hormozis and the what's his name, Russell Brunson, is Dan Kennedy, right? He's like the old guru. And he talks
yeah,
about the one who spends the most money to get a customer will win. So if you put all this money into, that's how Alex Hormozi, let's be honest, he did a lot of that stuff, right? A lot of content, a lot of branded content, Mosey Nation, and things like that to get his name out there. And to your point, it can work. You just got to invest, man. You're going in the hole a lot. As someone who's spending money on ads, it can be painful because you're in the
yeah, yeah.
hole. But the hope is one day your gold rush is coming in. So anyway, yeah, man. We TikTok guys, be careful. It's coming for you. It's coming for you.
unless it's not available on your phone. Meta's coming for you now. Anyway, that's enough of that. But speaking of watching stuff, I heard some Oscars talk, and I know you want to talk about the Oscars, so I want to just jump in here and get into the Oscars because I you actually
You
asked me
could
if any
care less. You
you
could
actually
care
asked me if
less.
anybody cares, and I'm like, not this guy. I don't even know if other people care because I care so little.
Mr. Benja, how dare you? Who's your favorite filmmaker right now, Mr. Benja? The one that you watch over and over again just to understand how he did an action sequence. One who you probably are fantasize about what crazy things he's gonna come up with next. You have a whiteboard to figure out his last movie. Christopher Nolan won an Oscar for directing of Oppenheimer. How dare you not know that, Mr. Benja? Isn't that your guy? Isn't that your dude?
I was happy for him. In fact, I was so happy when I heard the news. I actually watched a short little documentary slash interview where he explained the timeline of Memento on a whiteboard.
Yeah.
He's actually so the best way to explain this is see, you can't just structure it like a movie. You have to and he stopped and he's like, hold on, let me go to the whiteboard. And he started whiteboarding it. I was like, oh, here we go. Here we go. Shout out.
Just kudos to him, man. When I first watched Memento, I can remember, man, that was like 24 years ago, man, when I watched
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And I saw that movie, blew my mind. I actually had some coworkers come with me to go watch it again. And I said, this is the guy to watch. And after that, he got Batman Begins and all of the trilogy
Yeah.
that he did. And now now he's doing more artsy fartsy type of movies, but they all got little hooks to them, right? Dunkirk, and then obviously even with Oppenheimer, there was some little funny shenanigans he does. But very interesting filmmaker, man. He is very technical, almost to a fault, and sometimes he can be blamed for not having good characters because they're more like pieces in the plot to move
Yeah.
the plot along. And for him to finally get recognized for his efforts, kudos to him. Did you watch Oppenheimer at all by any chance?
I should do that.
Yeah, it's on Peacock right now. You can go watch it if you
Oh,
have
let
Peacock.
me scratch that off the list.
Yeah, a good movie. I read the book too. Very faithful to the book. Um, yeah, like I said, I thought it was a little bit too long for my taste. It was 3 hour
Okay.
long about it's historical drama, and it's centered around basically building the bomb and the aftermath of that, which is great. But I thought they could have done more with that. After the
Mm,
bomb went off, they didn't really show any of the after effects. They talked about it, right? But they didn't show what happened to the Japanese people, and
yeah.
which we've seen before, of course. But I felt like it was uneven. It was so centered on Oppenheimer and what he experiences. But I digress. So anyway, so that's why I cared. I thought that was kind. And then also, that movie made nearly $1 billion, a 3 hour biopic about physics.
Yeah, that
Who
is
would have
wild.
thought? That's crazy. And that's only because it got tagged along with social media with another movie called Barbie and this whole
Yes.
Barbenheimer phenomenon
Yeah.
that just blew the doors wide open on cinema this year because Barbie was a thing, was another big thing that happened. That made $1.6 billion last year. A movie about a doll that no girl plays with now. And this blew my mind. And so because it became a thing. So it was like, so Barbenheimer, I think, encapsulates a lot of things that we talk about, Mr. Benja. There was these unknown properties, IP properties, right? That kind of
Mhm.
came together. One was a book, one was a toy. Unique filmmakers that Greta Gerwig with Barbie and her take on it. And then obviously Christopher Nolan has interesting story, the way he tells his stories. And then social media, man, just how it just made these things bigger than they probably would have been on their own. And yeah, like I said, I thought it was pretty interesting to see. And this is the first time I think a movie that made that much money had a chance to win. I think the last time that happened, I think I put it on here. The ratings for this was only about 19 million. Um, yeah, I think I have the numbers there. I can't find it right now, Mr. Benja. I lost in the sauce, but I think I put
Oh my god. Yeah.
19.5 million. Yeah,
Mhm.
19.5 million viewers watched the Oscars live or maybe delayed. And that's the best since 2020, but it's a far cry from 55 million people watched it back in 1998. And that movie was Titanic, which I think did you see the Titanic? movie?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, I was at FAM, I remember, took a date to go see it. I'll never forget. I was like, "That
Nice.
movie's pretty good." So, 55,000,000 people watched the Oscars when Titanic won its historic run, and so that goes shows you that movies may not be as monolithic as they once were,
Mhm.
unless they get some help from social media or something like that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
those are some of the things that I thought was interesting. And that's why I want to bring up the Oscar to talk about that. And you displayed that a lot of people don't care. So that's is interesting. Oh, real quick, do you know about this other thing called Ken? I'm just Ken. Did you hear about that? Did that go viral, or did you know anything about that song or what that was about?
I know about the song, didn't mean much to me, but what about it going viral?
It was just Ryan Gosling. He was this actor who performed live, and it was just this viral moment where everybody was super excited about him dancing and acting like a goober on live television. So it was one of those things, right? But I don't know if it moved a needle, maybe a little bit. And
Mhm.
the Gen Zers, I don't think they care watching stuff live. Oh, they'd rather just watch it on Twitter or TikTok or whatever, and people reacting to it as opposed to maybe watching it live. Because you remember when the Chris Rock slap
That's a
happened?
good okay, that's a good question, though. It's like, you figure with live and all the people connected socially, there's a play that needs to happen there with the whole Instagram, I'm on my phone, live, what can happen kinda thing. There's just something really interesting there, and huh.
I don't think
I
people
I
wanna go live. I don't think people wanna go because to them, I think the TV process, like, they not need to know what channel it's on, where's the remote at, and all that stuff. But if you're, like, just live streaming it from your phone to the internet, I guarantee you get more viewers
yeah,
on your
yeah.
live stream than you would on TV. So,
E
that's what they should calculate. How many people are watching live streams?
Yeah. No, if you had let's say you had a phone, let's say the MTV phone or whatever. No one cares about MTV right now, but somebody from MTV is like, "Hey, listen, we got the MTV phone. It's a special phone. It's gonna be live streaming the entire night. We're gonna pass the phone from me to Rick Ross, and then after a couple minutes, Rick Ross is gonna hand the phone off to Jada Pinkett Smith. After she has it for 5 minutes, we're gonna pass it off to Katy Perry." And it's, "Oh, okay, that might
Mm,
be interesting." You just got this phone, you're live streaming with people, they're doing all kinds of stuff and you're at the Oscars or something. What I'm saying is there's a play there and they're not
I
picking up
agree.
on it.
I think they've tried elements of it. Maybe if you do, that's what the hashtags are for, right? People
They're
are
whack.
posting automatically.
Yeah.
They're just you just go to hashtag Oscars, right? And then you'll see what the celebrities are posting. You'll see different pictures of celebrities doing different things. But to your point, it's nothing like official. But maybe they should. To your point,
It's nothing like Yeezy in his car talking about why.com. What else is there? Yeah, it's nothing as live, raw, and awesome as that. That's what I'm saying.
yeah, they need to do more of that, man. To your point. So, yeah. So anyway, so thought that's interesting. Are people watching movies anymore, or do they prefer streaming? Would you pull out of either?
During the week, I was just thinking about movies in general, and I came across this article that was saying, yeah, 2/3 of US adults would rather wait to watch movies on streaming. It's like we knew this kind of, but somebody actually went out there and pulled the numbers and was like, yeah, ain't nobody trying to get up and go to the theaters when they could sit on the couch 2 months and just see it later. It's yeah, it's and people complain about the cost. It's like you got a family, you take four people to go to the movies. That's your time out, your parking, your tickets. You're looking at $100 experience
Easily.
easily. Yeah,
Yeah, it's not cheap to go to movies anymore. And then to your point, they really don't have a lot of theatrical, in my opinion, movies. It's not like you're watching a Marvel movie anymore, like every quarter, right? Like we had
yeah,
3 Marvel movies a year or something that makes you want to go watch it and see it. And so it's like now they're using social media to entice you to want to go, but it's not the
yeah,
same anymore. I would say this there's some data though that shows a shout out to the entertainment strategy guy. He actually said theatrical films massively outperform straight to streaming films. So
sure,
doesn't mean
sure.
people
Yeah,
want it, but it's just think about it. If you have it's almost like as a product differentiation. This movie's so good that we trust that it's gonna be in the theaters now as opposed to going to streaming. So it's just a connotation of quality for that movie if it shows up in a theater. And then even if it doesn't do well, guess what? Now they have all these different pathways. They can do direct to what they call it POV, where you go direct to video on demand. and then you can finally get to a streaming service, and then you can do these other things. And so it's just like the notational quality is tied to these movies that go to the theater versus that go to streaming. Like you just said, the audience probably would prefer seeing streaming, but you make more money when you can get it on that. That's why two movies that just got released, what's it called, Argyle, which has got
Yeah.
terrible reviews, but that's fine. Apple probably is gonna make his money because guess what? It went to the theater first. Now it's on Amazon, Apple streaming, but they probably made money on all these other different markets and stuff and how they set it up. So you make more money if it goes to the theater. That's what I'm trying to say here.
Yeah, and it's I think a lot of that has to do with cachet, just being trustworthy, the market understanding that, no, you actually sat down and put together an actual
Mm.
product, and we now know that it's theater worthy, so, of course, it's gonna be at least streaming worthy, you know what I mean? And this is
I got this, Mr. Benja. This is what it is. That's what we talk about the book conversations versus,
exactly, I was just about to
ebooks.
go there.
Yeah, because that's the concept is if you put something in the physical world, people just assume it's worth more.
Mhm. It's like, "I have a book." It's, "Oh, okay." And you say, "I have an ebook." It's
Yep.
like, that
It's in the theater versus it's streaming. Well, okay. It's like that extra work you did in people's perception may not be that much more work to you, but the extra perception makes it donates quality, right? They align now because of the how easy it is to distribute digital products and goods.
yeah, yeah. And you know what? I need to actually look into that because there's a lot of that I think that I've not investigated properly enough. Just that unspoken cachet, that little voice in your head that says, "No, I trust that." Why? It's actually in the theater, so that means they did this and this. It's got X, Y, and Z. You can just certain things that bring along that trust that you may be overlooking, but you
Yep.
know what? It's not that much work. Just do it this way, and then you can go add on all the other stuff and be all crazy about it.
Yep. No like trust. And how do you know?
Yeah.
How do you get that trust faster?
I got an example. I was at an art show, right? And everybody's passing out their business cards and talking about their art and the process. And I realized I got the best interactions when I showed people my business card and actually told them my email address. My email address is actually at mrbenja.com. So everybody else had Gmail addresses, a couple Hotmails or whatever. But one lady actually stopped me and was like, "How'd you do that?" I was like, "What? I got a website." And
What year was this? What year is
it
it?
was after 2010.
She
Uh,
said, how did you do that?
yeah, and it was just totally foreign to her. So she was just like, she thought some big corporate institution needed to have big corporate website for you to be able to do that, but unnecessary.
Nah, dog. Nah, dog. Mr. Benja, what's up, man? We got anything else we want to jump into? A rant?
Yeah.
You got a rant? You got a
Oh
rant on
gosh,
you in you?
I got a rant, man. Let me tell you, someone sold Don Lemon a lemon because that was the alternate title. Don got sold a lemon. X gonna give it to Don Lemon. It's time to make lemonade because he just got squeezed, juiced. So Don Lemon had the show. He's from CNN. He had the show. He's going to jump on X, have the show there. He interviews Elon Musk. Everybody says it was a testy interview. Wasn't that exciting? He gets on there, does the interview. Elon Musk says, "I don't like that so much," and gets rid of him. So now, one, you will know what Elon Musk is about, but don't take that and be sad about it. This is Don Lemon's greatest chance to put his show somewhere and really get traction. I don't know what he thought he was doing by going to X. Maybe he could have been that other guy, but this is a good move for Don. Don, X is going to give it to you, and you don't want it from Elon like that. Do your own thing. Proud of you, dude. Go post up somewhere. And this is actually a positive rant because, hey, big things are happening. Don Lemon is going to do something.
I love it. I love it, man. Look, guys, we're going to end on this. We're great, insightful podcast. Hope you take some insights today. But if you like what we do, please subscribe and comment at Show versus Business on X, YouTube, and Instagram. Listen to us at Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And then go visit our show at Show versus Business on our website. Get the latest information. Mr. Benja, great talking to you, man.
As always, peace.